Intro. All righty. Well, my name is London Knight, and at this point, I have had lupus for we're going on 6 years this year. So, kind of a veteran in the game now, a little bit. As far as my organization, I am affiliated with the Lupus Foundation of America South Carolina Community Partner. I am the Lupus Youth Advisor or the Lupus Youth Leader for the state of South Carolina. So typically what I do is for newly diagnosed young adults or teens. I am the person that the family usually contacts first, or somebody will refer me to the family. And basically, I just help them get acclimated with the disease, what to expect, and give them their first set of resources. And I'm pretty much their liaison or their touch person for when they have an issue or they have questions. And I remember me first going through it. I had somebody to hold my hand and kind of go through it, and I had to seek her out. So I've kind of taken on that same role, and I've been that beacon to other people because it's very scary to navigate at first. And just having somebody there for younger adults, it makes a better impact with their recovery. For me personally, having somebody there, I was probably able to recover quicker and not be so down all the time. And so that's mainly what I do, just making myself available to newly diagnosed people, giving them the resources, helping them get to support groups, helping to advocate for them, lobbying for them. That's all I do because it's my life now. So what I do not only affects me, but I'm doing it for other people. So that's why I do what I do.
Okay. Why is it like lupus awareness the month? Why is it so important that we take this time out to have this month? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, absolutely. For a disease that affects so many Americans, we are really underfunded and really under-advocated for. A lot of Americans are miseducated about lupus. They're not really sure what it is in its entirety. It's usually often referred to as like the mocking disease because it mocks several other diseases. And that's why it's so hard to kind of pinpoint or diagnose it. And in that regard, most people don't even know what they're looking for, so they don't know what to talk about. And so what we do is we kind of introduce the conversation. Hey, this is lupus. This is what it looks like. Because everybody thinks lupus is somebody laid out on a bed. Lupus is somebody walking right past you in the grocery store. Lupus is your pastor. Lupus is your accountant. Lots of people are able to live different lives with lupus. It affects everyone differently. And so when we introduce that conversation, what we're doing is we're bringing the conversation to the table saying, hey, we're underfunded. I mean, there's not a lot of research going on as far as treatments, trying to identify a source, trying to identify, are there any means to a cure? There's not a lot of resources in that effect. So that's why we introduce the conversation, we make it relevant, keep it relevant, so that we're not forgotten. Because like I said, so many people are affected, but not enough people are talking about it because there is a stigma that comes with being diagnosed with a chronic illness. So that could be part of it. It could be, lack of representation on Capitol Hill. It could be many things. But what we do is we try to take one of those things, attack it, and see if it makes the situation better. So really, it's a slow process, just like anything else, but it's so worth it because each year we gain more momentum, we gain more supporters, we gain more sponsors. And in doing that, slow and steady wins the race. So in my opinion, I'm thinking as I continue to do work, as I continue to work with other people in my field, lupus is headed for a new breakthrough. And especially with, introduction of celebrities who are now admitting that they have had their own scares with lupus or have been touched in some way by someone who has lupus. I personally went to college with somebody who now plays in the NFL, and he was touched by my lupus diagnosis when we were in college. And so he's even, taken it to his NFL career where, they do the minor representations, but it was big to me because, just having lupus awareness on his shoes was enough for me. He did a brief interview after the game, and just being able to take some time out of his schedule to share about someone else, about what someone else is going through, those small things are what we need to keep progressing forward. So like I said, just getting the word out, keeping the conversation up and relevant is what's really going to propel us forward as far as getting some advocacy for lupus.
You know, because it has a lot to do with that, where someone has to it actually come to grips, like knowing they have lupus, but they come to grips saying, hey, you know, I have it. Why do you think like so many stars were kind of quiet about it in the beginning, like saying, hey, I have it, but I don't know if I want to let everybody know this?
Yeah, well, honestly, it's a huge stigma because when you diagnose this lupus, it's not one single thing that's wrong with you. It's a multitude of things that are wrong with you. And the way that it affects your lifestyle, it's like a complete 180. It's night and day. I went from being this active dancer, community involved person to having to help somebody dress me, bathe me, do my hair and things like that. So it's an attack on your self-esteem. It definitely made me look at myself differently, made me look at the goals that I set for myself differently. It really makes you re-examine yourself as a person, not just a sick individual. And oftentimes what that does is it messes with your mental, which is what a lot of lupus patients deal with. They think about the disease, but they don't think about the mental toll that it takes on them. And, you know, healthcare and physical health, mental health, they go hand in hand. And so when one is down, the other suffers as well. So that is something that I dealt with for a very, very, very long time. Very, very long bout of depression. I had to start seeking counseling. I've done my own types of self-care now. And really it just goes back to, it's a lifestyle change. And for anyone, when you have to change paths from what you thought you were doing, you have to adjust, you have to adapt, you have to be innovative. Some things that I couldn't do before, I thought I'd never do them again, but you just have to find a different way to do things. It's not that you can't do it, you just have to find another way to do it. And so just keeping a positive outlook on it has really helped me be so optimistic with getting through the lupus disease, because it's an everyday battle. Every day is not a good day, but then again, every day is not a bad day either. You know, you really take it on. And, you know, I say something funny to myself, and I don't know if I can cuss on here, but every day when I wake up, okay, well, look, when sometimes when I wake up and I'm like really fed up with it, I'm like, man, oh man, I get in the bathroom, I look myself in the mirror, and I said, Lupus is gonna have to earn this ass whooping today. I'm not just gonna give it over. So it's gonna have to earn this ass whooping today. And you know, that kind of, you know, makes me laugh a little bit, and it just gets me on my way. But sometimes I have to talk to myself like that, because lupus is just your body attacking itself, essentially. Your immune system can't differentiate between good cells and bad cells, so it attacks everything. And so, you know, me against me, I'm my own worst enemy, literally. But I'm stronger on the inside, and so I'm fighting back against lupus, and I see my progress. I see where I've progressed as an individual from when I was first diagnosed to now, almost 6 years down the line. I'm a completely different person. I have a better outlook on life, and I definitely don't take anything for granted. I'm just living life. I don't, you know, the days are come, the days they go. Everybody has the same 24 hours. I'm going to make the best of mine. So lupus or not, one thing that we do use in our support groups that a lot of our lupus have been using is I have lupus, but lupus doesn't have me. So essentially what that's saying is, yes, you have a disease, but it's not you. You're not walking on the street, oh, hey, lupus. That's not what it is, you know? It's something that you live with. It's not something that you become. So just making sure that our patients are aware of that is key in helping them keep that positive energy going as far as their recovery.
You know, when you said last line, I think you said lupus has us, but
I have lupus, but lupus doesn't have me.
That line is actually in the movie.
What?
Yes. That line is actually in the movie. I mean,
yes. Yes,
that's
real representation. I love it. I
yeah.
love it.
And I was gonna ask you one more question. Then I want to ask you about the trailer and what you thought. But is
Sure.
the difference in being diagnosed, I guess, at an early age versus someone who is diagnosed when they are in their late 30s or early?
Already established. Yeah, big, huge difference. So with me, okay, so let's go with some facts. Okay, for most people who are diagnosed with lupus, it's mostly women, and they're mostly between the childbearing ages. Okay, the most recent reports are showing younger happening, so between like your late teens, like 18, 17, 18, all the way through like early 40s. So I'm in that cusp, and in that cusp, you have women who are either trying to get established with living their lives, or they're already established and trying to maintain. So when lupus interjects, for me at the time, I was trying to establish myself as a young woman, trying to find out who I was as a young adult, because at the time I was 23 going on 24. And I was in college, figuring out, okay, this is what I want for my life. This is the path that I want. Thought I had a set plan, and then lupus comes. And you have to move around it because lupus is like that nasty, tacky tar glue. It just sticks there. You have to move around it and keep going. So originally my plans were to go to med school and become a doctor and do all these things. And I'm still very passionate about doing those things, but I also recognize that that is too much of a stressor for me. So I have changed my plans. I still want to do healthcare. I still am taking the necessary steps to be where I want to be and ultimately do what I want to do, just in a different way. And I'm happy with that. I'm okay with that. Other people, not so much. Everybody adjusts differently. Some people are more stubborn than others. And some people, just give up completely. And that's why, we try to be present in everyone's journey, because you can't do it alone. It's absolutely impossible. I would not have survived this long or made it this far without the people in my circle. So that is very, very key in, lupus prognosis, lupus, just success in general. You that that mental thing is something serious. I feel like I strayed away from your question. Remind me one more time.
You're actually right on it, but because you brought the detail about the difference of someone diagnosed early and then someone diagnosed later. So
right. And then you've got some people who, like I said, who have already been established, might have children, might have families. Lupus comes and you can go from being the breadwinner and the person who takes care of your family to being the one who needs the care, to being the one who, is like the child in the family now. Because like I said, I went from being independent to having to have somebody put on my shoes for me. Night and day. And it's the same with a lot of people. Some people have to quit their jobs. The movie, some people, there's just so much around lupus that people are uncomfortable to talk about. That's why I'm here. You can't go through life with stigmas. You have to address the problem and keep it moving. Some people are going to be on board, some people aren't, but this is my life. I am more passionate about this than anything. So I will introduce a conversation because it needs to be said. It needs to be talked about. And, there are other people like me who would benefit from the conversation. So that's why it's very, very important that, what you're doing, what I'm doing, that we keep it relevant, because it's so very much needed. So very much needed.
Okay. So with that being said, when you saw the trailer, what did you think? The authenticity of it? Give me some
Man, honestly, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, this is home. Because, I live in Columbia, so all these views and things, I was like, okay, this is home. And then I started listening to the dialogue, and honestly, it That was me. That was me. I am that headstrong. I got it. I'm that independent businesswoman. I do this, I do that. And the third, I was her. And I was sneaking around to go to my appointments. I was ashamed. I was not telling people. And especially with the job, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, like that. There was a scene in the trailer where her boss was, I guess they were in a meeting, closed meeting, and she asked her, she was like, is there anything you want to tell me, anything at all that might hinder you from doing your job or anything like that? That is an uncomfortable, first of all, violation of HIPAA. Second, you know, it's just, that is an extremely uncomfortable position for someone who has a disease and has to disclose that information, because you don't know what happens after you disclose that information. We're not protected. And the reason why we're not protected is because people don't know that we need protection. They don't know that there are conversations like this happening every single day, and not just with lupus, but other diseases as well. So that one really touched home for me, because I remember my first conversation like that, and I literally, when I walked out, I just broke down, because I never thought I would be in that point in life where I have to be so vulnerable with other people when I don't want to. And, you know, I've had, as far as my job history, I have had to leave some jobs because of the my lupus diagnosis. Even my most recent job, actually, I was working with I won't even say the company, but I was working in a lab. And at the time, I was doing very, very well. I had been there for about a year, going on a year and a half. And all of a sudden, COVID happens. Can't work at my job anymore because I am susceptible already. I'm already doing chemotherapy. I'm already, you know, on all these other medications. I can't be around that. And so people are every day making those decisions. I was fortunate enough to, at the time, I was already looking for another job. And so in the process, I've actually become an independent contractor. So now I've changed roles, I've switched over. And I'm only able to do that because of who I was before lupus. You know, I was always that person who was like, okay, A didn't work, let's go to B or C, let's see which one works. And so I was able to do that this time, but I also had to be careful because it was the stress of losing the job, it was the stress of starting a new job, and then COVID happens. I was stuck in the house, you know, all these stressors. You got to be solid up here, because I caught myself getting into a flare because I was just been so stressed about everything happening around me and that I wasn't in control of anything. I couldn't take it. I couldn't take it. And it's something that I grapple with every day, but I'm getting better at it because I'm taking charge of my time. I am doing the best I can with what I got, essentially. So it's working for me. And, you know, at first I used to look at lupus as a curse, like the ultimate curse, like why I wouldn't wish this on the person I hate the most. But, you know, it's really the most beautiful blessing ever. It has allowed me to come into contact with some amazing people. It has allowed me to learn a lot more about myself as far as my character, my integrity, my perseverance. I am really, not to toot my own horn, but I am pretty amazing. And lupus has helped reveal that to me.
Got to toot your horn now.
You really do. You really do. Because you're going to have your days where you don't have that pat on the back. You're going to have those days where you don't have somebody to pick up the phone and pour into you. So you've got to be able to do it yourself. And I've learned that. I've definitely learned that. I know that, you know, life happens. It happens to everyone. My struggle is no better or worse than the next person. But, you know, you keep pushing. You keep pushing every single day because you can't just you can't fight on your back. You know, all those days that I laid in the bed and I didn't want to get up, I didn't want to eat, I didn't want to shower. I was depressed. I was so depressed. And one day I just had enough. I was fed up with just laying down. I wasn't going to lay down anymore. I just got up one day and I took control, and I haven't looked back. So yeah, lupus is definitely my frenemy. I'll say it like that. Not,
Even I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
no, you're good.
Okay. One of the things when I started making the movie, everybody was kind of asking me why I wasn't showing the physical symptoms of it, and it was just her going through the process, and it was more internal, and you could
right.
Because first I said, it attacks people so differently. Like there's so many different ways it attacks. So I could say this, but what about the person who's experiencing this? And what about the person?
Exactly.
So I said,
you got it.
Yeah. So I said, well, what about the people? What about the internal struggle you have? And then, kind of the more I started talking to people, I actually took a visit to the Lupus Foundation, and I just kind of read stories. I looked at your Instagram. I looked at Lupus. I looked at her Instagram. A lot of people, I was just looking at Instagram, listening to stories on YouTube. And what I started seeing was, it was like people were trying to explain their pain. I would listen to people try to tell them that, your pain is not that severe. And I'm like, who gives a person permission?
Exactly. Well, we're not in competition.
In
competition.
Yeah. And it was like, people who didn't experience lupus was trying to minimize the pain of somebody else, saying, oh
man. Insensitivity is a thing. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't look like you have lupus. Girl, you see you have lupus. Girl, stop playing. You just lazy. Oh, honey, I've heard it all. I have heard it all.
Yeah.
That's that tough skin, I'm telling you. Because I am a big crybaby. Huge. And at first, every single time somebody said something to me, I was in the bathroom, boo-hooing. I remember when I first started chemotherapy, by this time I was on steroids and all these other things. And with steroids, you blow up. My first day back on campus, my hair had started coming out. I was, no lie, I was 40 plus pounds than what I had left school for winter break. When I came back, I would walk past people that were in my class or friends of mine. They didn't even recognize me. People would have to double take, like, oh my God, is that really you? Are you okay? What happened? And at this time, I hadn't even disclosed to the public what was going on with me, just like the team I was on or teachers, classmates, small things, but nothing that I had really made public. And having someone, you're going to your next class and someone points out like, oh my God, that's London. That was heartbreaking. That's, people thinking I let myself go, or I'm going through something, but have a little compassion. I didn't bring this on myself. This just, I'm dealing with it. Okay. This is how I'm dealing with it. I'm still here at school. I chose not to drop out. I made a decision that, it wasn't going to take me out. So I went back to school and I got my degree on time. I'm very proud of that. I did everything that I put my mind to, that I said I was going to do originally. And I still did it, even with lupus. So, I don't compare. Like I said, my struggle is no better or greater than anyone else's, but it's mine. And I know what I had to do to get to this point. And I am extremely proud of myself, because it took a lot of grit. It took a lot of, it just took commitment. It really took commitment. And just like anything that's worth working for, you reap the benefits later. Investing in myself and working on myself to combat this is paying off tenfold. And I would not change my journey for anything.
Okay. Now, as far as like, if somebody wants to kind of, donate to your organization or kind of get involved, like how would they go about getting in contact with you?
Well, typically, I don't accept donations. I really do work for free. Like I said, this is something that's near and dear to my heart. However, with our community, we're actually renegotiating our contract with LFA right now. So at this point, we don't have like an official way to draw funds. However, I'm actually looking into doing something on my own in like the next 2 or 3 years. I'm actually trying to draw up a business plan now, and really trying to be more impactful with how I reach out to these people. So if there's something that I can actually send to people, like a kit, like a starter kit, something, I would like to get that out to people. Or, you know, some kind of subscription is what I kind of want to start. So I'm thinking of something to be more innovative, and that definitely will need funding when the time comes. But for right now, I'm not accepting any type of payment. If they want to donate, they're more than welcome to donate to the Lupus Foundation of America, because that's ultimately where all the funding goes to. But really, I'm just out here out of the goodness of my soul. I really want to help people. I want to see people succeed. I want to see people win. And especially people who are going through the same thing that I'm going through. I just want to give them the tools. I want to give them the keys so they can do the same thing that I did in their own way. So, yeah,
Okay.
I don't need to be paid for that.
Okay. So let's say a young lady that's in her early 20s and she gets diagnosed and she's looking for somebody that can kind of understand what she's going through. How would they get in contact with you to say, you know, hey, this is what I'm going through. I really don't have anybody to kind of talk to. Like, what would be the steps they go if they could contact you?
Okay, well, I have several avenues. I'm on most social media. So I'm on your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter. On Facebook, I actually have two. So my personal one is just my name, London Knight. And then my group that I'm affiliated with is called Lupus CSC, and that's for Columbia, South Carolina. So just Lupus CSC, and you can look up Lupus CSC events, and you'll see when we have like our virtual meetings, or when we do our actual meetings in person. We were doing that before COVID, of course, but now we're just doing virtual. Some of our classes are on there. Some of the lessons that I've taught are on there. So that would be a good resource start. As far as the quickest way to get to me, of course, is email or Instagram, because those are typically where I talk to my clients the most. So my email is my first name, middle name. So London, London, and my middle name, Malloy, Malloy @gmail.com. My Instagram handle is London Bridges. So it's LondonBrydges. And it's the same thing for Twitter as well. So yeah, those are the main ways to get in touch with me. Most of the people I get referred to is by word of mouth. So their aunt knows me, or especially with my former accolades. So they're like, oh, that's Miss SC State. Yeah, you should go talk to her.
Yeah.
A lot of people know me from that, but they also remember the public awareness that I did about lupus during that time. So that's how they tie the two together. And that's how I get a good bit of my clients as well. But I'm also out in the community. I'm showing my face. You know, I go to the doctor's offices where I go, and I say, hey, if you got anybody new, here's my information. Tell them to give me a call if they have any questions. And it's
awesome.
as simple as that. Just making myself available.
It's amazing, though. You say your name, London Bridges. That's like London, and I'm Bridge. So
right.
That's pretty cool, right there.
Thank you.
But definitely, what we're gonna actually load this on all our social media platforms. One of the things that I've done, I did kind of like a partnership, not a partnership, but basically we're raising funds for the Lupus Foundation of America. And
right.
So part of the proceeds will be going, like, we have a special account designated people.
Nice. Okay.
And half those funds go to the Lupus Foundation. But also, as I was talking, I started learning there are so many different organizations. So when COVID kind of came, it kind of threw a wrench in everything and pushed all out. But we were also looking at some of the things is like taking the movie different places before we stream it out. And let organizations use that as a fundraising, invite people to come out and watch it. But absolutely, yeah,
I would love that.
Yeah,
that could really, what you could do. That's going to bring people to a centralized event. It's going to, that would be a great idea, because you could have actual watch parties, and have a discussion or a forum event surrounding that. So not only are you promoting your movie, but you're promoting lupus discussion, you're promoting the conversation. So it's multifaceted. That would be a wonderful idea. I would really love, to see you do that. And if I could be of any help to help you get that
Yes,
out,
you
I would
could.
definitely look into my resources and, send them your way. But that would be wonderful. Having somebody from the outside like, hey, let's do this. That'd be great. It'd be wonderful. They would welcome it with open arms for sure.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping everything kind of starts dying down with the
Yeah.
and just I asked the last interview I was talking about, we were talking about COVID-19 and how it's impacted lupus. If you got time, can you speak on that? Like, because I know at the time they were taking the medication and they weren't actually. I mean, I'm gonna let you talk. You go ahead and talk about
it. Hey, I'm glad you got time. So the first thing that I was primarily concerned about was who it affects, of course. So they mentioned people with compromised immune systems. That's the lupus population. So immediately I was on guard. The first pieces of information they were giving, I was like, oh, wear face masks, wear gloves, and things like that. Took all those precautions. And what I realized is my body recognizes that there's a change in the environment, even if I don't see it. And so even with me wearing masks and wearing gloves and going out fully clothed, because I'm sensitive to sunlight as well, as most people with lupus are. So when I would go out and run these errands or try to conduct business, I was still having flares that were affecting my lupus just from being outside. And so I think what my body is very sensitive to environmental changes, which is possibly how my lupus became active when I first got diagnosed, because I was outside a lot with band camp and things like that. So my body recognizes it, even if I don't fully understand what's going on outside, my body does, and it's reacting to it. So I've chosen to stay inside. Just for, I don't want to set myself back at all, because once you get into a flare, getting out of it is just terrible. But I will say, and I typically do this a lot, I don't know if anybody else has mentioned their lupus fog, but I will be in deep conversation and I will forget everything that I was talking about before that. So you're going to have to remind me what you just asked me one more time, please.
Okay.
I do apologize, but it does happen.
Very good. No, but I know when COVID-19 came out, they were talking about the medicine that they were giving to lupus.
The Plaquenil, yeah.
And they were taking it and saying, this is the medicine we need to use for COVID. So, it was, I started hearing a lot of people who had to take the medication that they were kind of worried because they weren't able to get their prescriptions, or they were giving them like good amounts. So
gotcha.
Yeah, and the impact that.
So for me, I typically get my medications on a 3-month basis. So I get a 3-month supply at one time. Mm-hmm. At the time when COVID came out, I maybe had 1 more month of my Plaquenil left. And when I found out that they were using it to start treating lupus, initially I got nervous because, of course, who our president is, and I just wanted to make sure that I was going to be okay. So I said, okay, what do I need to do? So I immediately made an appointment with my doctor. I was good health-wise. I had just had a checkup. So, I was still on track. What we decided to do, because I'm actually in the process of trying to eliminate the medications that I'm taking. I'm down quite a bit. So we decided to kind of taper the medicine so that it will not only help me to taper on the medication, but it will also help extend the longevity of the medication that I already have. So instead of taking 2 of them a day, I was taking 1, then 2, then 1, then 2, so alternating days. And it gives you maybe a week or 2, not even a full 2 weeks, but still, it would give me like a threshold or some kind of barrier, just in the event that I wasn't able to get my medication in time, which is actually something that happens often for a lot of people, especially with specialty medication. My immunotherapy has to come via the mail. And the company that I deal with, which I wish I didn't have to deal with, they're always late. They never get my medication on time. There's always some kind of delay or whatnot. and COVID has only made it worse. So I've also started, adjusting with that medication as well. Of course, I talk to my doctor first, but it's more so I'm at a point where I can self-manage my disease. And so I know, okay, I need to double up on this today, or I can, kind of lay off on this for a little bit. I can tell my body now. In the beginning, you're not going to know because you're trying to get a routine. You're trying to establish what works for you and what doesn't. But now I'm at the point in the game where I know what does and does not work. And I know, okay, based on how I'm feeling today, what I need to do for like the next few days to get myself back on top. So with the Plaquenil, it was a scare. Fortunately, I didn't go without. I'm still, I've got all my medications. But for some people, I did have to, do my due diligence and make some phone calls, because a lot of people don't know how to navigate insurance as well. So that is another thing that I do help with, as far as make sure people are understanding what's being told to them and really getting the bang out of their butt, because we pay for insurance out the wazoo.
Wow.
With lupus, you have to have all these things in place. And then when the bills come, you're like, well, I thought this was covered. Well, insurance is it's tricky. It's very tricky. But when it comes to medication, just being proactive, I sometimes call 2 weeks in advance, just to say, hey, I know I'm not due yet, but I will be placing an order and I just don't want any issues. Sometimes you have to be like that, because my history with trying to get prescriptions refilled has just been a nightmare in some cases. I have had some years where they were good years when I was with like a certain pharmacy, but then as soon as my insurance changes, that changes as well. So just being proactive will kind of help minimize the instance of having to worry about your medications when you're getting it, if you're going to get them consecutively and concurrently. That is like something I put on the back burner in my head. It used to be something I had a lot of trouble with, but now I've got it to where I just call ahead, or I have great relationships with my doctors. Some people at the insurance company, when I call them, I've gotten them multiple times, so I'll ask for that person. So it's really all in what your personal dealing is with when you get your medication, or how you get your medication, who's your point of contact, who can advocate for you. And for me, I'm my own advocate. So I really take charge of that phone call, and I'm like, hey, look, this is my life you're playing with. I need my medication. Let's work something out. And, typically that does work, but I know it doesn't work for everybody. So there's still work to be done.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for taking time out today, to talk to us. And
absolutely.
And definitely, we got a campaign we're going to be doing after we start getting all the interviews out. It's called Make Your Mark. And
okay.
We'll send it to you and let you do a plug for us.
Can't wait. Can't wait. I'd love to.
Okay. And thanks a lot, too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I wish you continued success. Thank you for all that you're doing. And I can't wait to see the movie. We're all waiting patiently, but not patiently.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, too.
You're very, very welcome.
All right.